So in last class, we have discussed related to all the basics, right? So all the how we can generate the primary key, how we can declare the table and all, right? So let me show you. So we haven't defined here a table name. So what is the database table name in our database? Employee, right? So for example, so how we can define employee table? So with the help of at the rate table annotation. So if you give you here, there is a attribute name called name. So name is equal to here you can declare your database table name. So our employee is our table name. So let me start the server. Server started successfully. So now let me open the database. So I have cleared the database. So let me insert one record. So to insert the record, we do not need primary key. We don't need to send the primary key, right? So let me send the request. Sorry. So what is the API to create the employee? Create employee is the API to insert the record. So this is how you can declare your entity. If you can declare class table name as a your entity actually. So here you can declare your entity class table name. So whatever table name you have created in database. So for example here employee table, right? Employee table. So whatever name you have given specific name. So that exactly name you can give you here. So by specifying at the rate table annotation. So if you give anything wrong here, so it will throw exception. So let me show you. So testing purpose, employee, I have given wrong table name as part of at table annotation. So it will not throw any exception in console. So now let me send the request. So now we can see, right? So we got 500 error, nothing but could not execute statement. So because there is a, you can see right side, employee does not exist. Employee db dot employee does not exist. So whenever you declared your entity with at the rate table annotation, you should give the table name which is executed in your database. So the same table name you have to give here. So otherwise your application will throw internal server error. So the error code will be 500. So now I am employee. Okay. So I have given correct employee table name now. So let me try to insert one more record. So record is inserted successfully. So far you learned, right, JPA. So what is JPA and how JPA will create the table and how to specify the columns. So you have learned, right? So you can declare column names as well. So specific column names by specifying at the rate column annotation. So as of now, I have not given any column names. So if you don't give any column names by specifying at the rate column annotation, so the properties which are defined in your entity class, so your table name is going to create same column name. So for example, if it is in camel case, then it will give first underscore name, last underscore name, email, mobile underscore number. So if you don't specify any column names in your entity class, so it will create based on the properties, it will create the respective columns in your table. So yeah, so far you learned the basics, right? So now let's finish remaining APIs. So far we are connecting with the JPA repository, right? So let me complete remaining APIs, then we can start associations. Okay. So how many APIs we have created so far, find employee, create employee. So now let me go to your employee service, MPL. So we have written find API, find employee API, and create employee. So let me create a find all API, find all employees API with the help of JPA repository. So let me create method here. So find all, we are going to create find all API. So that nothing but, so we have to retrieve all the employees which are inserted in database. So it will return list of employees. Okay, so list you have to organize the import, Control Shift O. So find all employees I have written. So now from, we have to override this method in your implementation class. So it clearly throwing exception, right? So in your implementation class, so whenever you are declaring a method in interface, you must override in subclass. So add an implemented method. So now I have to move in to do. We are going to implement the business logic. So this comment is not needed. So now, so return, what you will return? List of employees with the help of employee repository. So repository dot. So if you want to fetch all the employees from the JPA repository, there are set of uh, methods are available. Find by ID, find all. If it is, you can see pageable. This you can see respective class. List of employee which you want to fetch. Find all method, and you can sort. If you want to sort the employee, so you can there is another method to fetch all the employees in sort. So you can see number of methods. So if you want to pageable, so if you want to working with web application, so you can do pagination with the help of whenever you are fetching multiple records. If you want to perform pagination in your web page, so we have find all pageable. So set of available methods are there, so uh, you can call respective method based on our requirement. So now our requirement here is to find all employees. So find all, there is a method called find all employees which can return list of employees. So just to call that method. Now service business logic is ready. So now we need to call the service from controller. So I need to create the API, right? So public, so it will return list of employees. Then find all employees method. So method name should be based on your business requirement. So currently I'm doing find all employees. So I'm giving method name as a find all employees. Organize your imports list. So now this method will expect list of employees, right? So now let me return and employee service dot. So what is the method we have written in service class? So find all employees. Just call that method. Now we have written, right? Now we have to specify the API. So what is this API? So we need to find all the employees. So it should be get request. It should be get mapping. So now specify your API name. Find all employees. That's it. So now go to the client and copy your API. What is the API? Find all employees. I'm going to execute find all employees API. So it should fetch all the employees from database. What is the HTTP request method? It should be get request. So now let me send the request. Internal error. Why JDBC exception executing mobile number employee ID. So let me copy the exception and open Notepad++, and you can read the exception properly, or you can go to the console. You can read it also in console. Also you can see. So it is throwing exception. Why? ID field list unknown column. So why unknown column? Let me check. So it is clearly saying, right? You can see what is the exception we are getting. Unknown column employee one 0 dot ID. It is saying unknown column ID. So let me check why it is giving error. So what is the column name in our employee? So at the rate generated value ID and employee, and we can check in database table. It is employee underscore ID. Okay, so we got right. So earlier, I have declared our primary key as at the rate at the rate column, sorry, at the rate column, and I have given as a employee underscore ID, right? So I have started the application, and then it is created the table in database. So let me remove this table from the database. The problem here is when we are fetching, so there is a it is column name as a employee underscore ID. So actually we have in our employee table, what is the column name? Employee ID. So if you want to resolve that, how we can do? Let me try with at the red column. So at the red column and name attribute. Name is equal to employee underscore ID. So in database, it is stored as employee underscore ID. That is the reason. So let me try now fetch all the employees. You can see, so we have two employees, all two employees came. So earlier why it came? So because in a ID column, ID primary column, I have declared it as employee underscore ID, then I have started the server. So might be in application.properties, we have a oh, no, I haven't created. We haven't created the table employee underscore D. So that is the reason. Actually, yesterday when there is might be, I think might be this property is present in our application.properties, and then when I start the server, it is created with employee underscore ID. Column name created with employee underscore ID. So now to avoid confusion, what I can do? So let me remove. So this is how we can fix by specifying the column. If I remove it, so now let me refresh, or you can continue also. So if you want, you can mention it as employee underscore ID, you can mention, or you can delete the table. And why? Because I have not given remaining column names, right? So let me remove and try, remove all the columns, remove database table from the DB, and I will create new one. So now there is table is not available. So how we can create the table? By specifying DDL auto property, right? So now let me close the console. The moment you save the file, our server should restart automatically. Now go and check your repository. SQL, just refresh your object repository. Now you can see here employee table is created. So what is the column name now? Open the table employee. You can see. So whenever your entity is specified with at the rate column annotation, so JPA will create the all the columns based on the column name which you have specified with your property. Okay, so now I have not specified anything. So if you don't specify any column name with the help of at the rate column annotation, so your Hibernate always create with your entity class properties. So same as is, it will create the columns. So now let me create. So now we can create the employee now. Method name. So method name should be post. So whenever you are sending creating the employee, your method name should be post. So employee is inserted successfully. So let me refresh. So Sachin Tendulkar is inserted. So now try fetching. Let me create another employee. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 requests I have sent. So total, sorry, five employees are created. So now let me call employee find employee API. Find all employees. So what is HTTP request method? See, I send the request. So what you will get 405 method not allowed. Why? Because find all employee always accept get request. Now we have inserted 5 employees, right? So all 5 employees are able to retrieve. So this is how we can retrieve all employees with the help of JPA repository. So if you want to update the employee, so update the employee already, I think we have shown you, right? So the save method, this method can perform both insert and update operation. So if it is record is present, it will update the record. If record not present, save method will insert the new record. So this will helpful for to update or insert the records in database. So that's the reason I am not creating update employee API. Or you want me to create? So let me create. So for the to complete all the APIs. So public. So if you want to write public, so update employee. So update employee, it will return employee object. So let me create API update employee. I'm going to create update employee API. So what is the request method to update the employee? Let me give put mapping. So if you generally in real time, right? Whenever if you want to update the resource in database, you should always use put mapping. So put mapping is used for update the employee. You can perform either post mapping, either put mapping. But in real time, whenever if you want to create the resource, you should use at the rate put mapping annotation. So now here we need to call as of now, let me return null because we have not written employee update employee in service class, right? So let me implement in service class. So what you have to, what is the use of creating interface? So whenever, let's say whenever there is a new requirement comes, so I need to create a new API. So that time you no need to touch the existing methods. So if you want to create any new API or if you want to create a, if you want to write any new business logic, so you no need to touch existing methods. You always have to write new method. So that's the reason interface is used to specify. If you want to create any new API, you can just declare a method in interface and then you can perform your business logic. So now I'm going to update the employee. So I'm writing the method employee. So it will, whenever you are updating the employee, that method will return employee object, respective updated employee details, right? So that's the reason it is returning employee. Now update employee. That's it. So update employee. So if you want to update the record, so what you need to pass? Your model object, entity object, employee. That's it. So now this should you have to override in your implementation class. So now repository JPA repository employee JPA repository dot save method. If you want to update, you have to call save method. So save method will perform both update and operation. So before inserting, if you want to check whether employee is present or not, so how you can do that? So for example, if you don't provide also, it will save method. What it will do? If present, it will update the record. If it is not present, it will insert the new record. So you no need to check find one. If you don't want to allow duplicate name of employees and all, then you can check whether that employee is present or not. So now what I will do, save employee is done. So now we just need to call this method in controller. Employee service dot update employee. You just need to pass employee object. So this method, we should send the request from the REST client, right? So request body, you have to pass employee. And so now you just need to pass this object. So now you can update the employee. So let me write a remaining API. Let me stop the server. Otherwise, it keep on disturbing. So now how many APIs I have written? So create, find all, and find by employee and update employee. So let me write delete employee method also. Delete API. So void. So let me as of now give you a void delete employee. By this time you should have capability to write all those things, guys. Okay. So, I already written number of times. So delete employee. So if you want to delete employee, you need to pass integer primary key, right? So that's it. So this we need to override in your implementation class. Now, so if you pass ID, so how we can delete? So we have to write the query actually. So instead of that, we will deal with object directly. So let me check what all the available methods in employee repository. Is there any delete? Yeah, delete employee. You can see delete by ID also there. You can see delete to all by ID or delete by ID. You can see, you are able to see my screen, right? So if you want to delete the employee, you can pass directly employee object also with the primary key. So if employee object is having primary key, so this method is going to delete the employee. You can pass the direct object. So delete all will do, it will delete all the records from the database. So all the employees which are inserted in employee table, it will delete. So if you are running in batch, so there is a batch execution also. If you want to bulk, if you want to delete employees batch by batch, that time you can use delete all batch method. So to delete the employees in batch processing. In batch processing, if you want to delete the records, this is the method. And delete by ID. So delete by ID. So the method which I have written. So this will be useful for to delete the employee because I am passing primary key, right? So this will be useful for to delete employee for us. So based on your requirement, you can call appropriate method. So what is the return type of this delete employee? So you can see this return type is void. So deletes the entity. If you want to read about this method, you can clearly, it is clearly mentioned, deletes the entity with the given ID. If entity is not found in the persistent store, it is silently ignored. So what does it mean? Whenever you are trying to trying to delete the employee, so if that employee present, then it will delete. If that employee is not present in the database, it will ignore. It will not throw any. It will ignore it. So if it is, if you pass ID null value, if you pass ID with null value, then it will throw illegal argument exception. Okay. Similarly, this save method also, if you want to know about save method, you can read it here. So in case the entity, you can see saves a given entity, use the returned instance further operation as save operation might have changed the entity instance completely. So entity must not be null. So you can hear the optimistic logging failure exception also. So this will this exception this it will throw save method will return two exceptions here. So what is that illegal argument exception? This will come when you are trying to save the employee with null ID. So your primary key, whenever you are trying to store with null value, then it will throw illegal argument exception. So optimistic logging failure exception in the sense when you are trying to insert or update when you are trying to update the record, or two users are trying to update at same time, so that time it will throw optimistic locking exception when the entity use optimistic locking has version attribute, so different value that found to the persistent store, also known if entity assumed to be persisted but does not exist in the database. So you can read like this, guys. So whenever if you want to have some information related to your method, so what kind of exception it will throw, and respective method, you can read it here. And similarly, find all also, find all, it will return all the entities. It will not throw any exception. So delete by ID. So delete by ID, I already explained you, right? So you can read like this. So let me call this method from REST controller. So put mapping, and here we have to give delete employee API. So I'm giving a method name as a delete. Sorry, this should be update employee. Update employee. So now let me copy paste and write delete API also, so that we can complete all the APIs. Then we can start another concept. So delete mapping. Delete employee. So now it should be delete employee. So to delete the employee, so let me try this time. Path variable at the rate path variable. I want to pass the employee ID as a path variable. So integer ID. So how we can specify the path variable? The followed by your URI. Here you need to pass ID. That's it. Delete employee slash ID. So you can update employee as written. So update employee. So if ID is present, then it will update. So now delete employee. If it ID is present, then it will delete the employee. So now here you need to pass ID. You need to call delete employee. So this delete employee will return void type, right? So its return type is void. So it will not return any value. So we have written all the APIs with JPA. Format the code. Control A, Control Shift F. Control A, Control Shift F in the sense you can format the code. Your code will align properly. So now we can execute this. Let me start the server. Because sometimes some people, one guy is asked me actually. So whenever, let me show you that thing. So if you have duplicate URI, so for example, if you specify, let's say update employee, I am giving here also as a update employee. If you have declared two URIs having duplicate names, so update employee, here also update employee, both the URIs are duplicated, right? So whenever you are starting the server, so this time what will happen? So it will our application will throw exception. Whenever your application is having duplicate URIs in your controller, see what happened. Tomcat started successfully. Okay, let me check why it is not throwing, because it is a put mapping, it is a delete so it is get mapping, this is put mapping, so that's the reason it's not throwing. So let me try another way. So copy, so let me give this also get mapping. So here where you can have both same type of, so let me I think here post mapping, you have two post mappings, right? Let me give it there. So here you have post mapping of find employee, post mapping of create employee. So let me give same URL here. So what will happen in this case? You can see, so whenever you are specifying your APIs with same definition, whenever an API which is having with same definition, if you declare twice, your application will always return exception. You can see bean creation exception. So it is clearly saying ambiguous mapping. Ambiguous mapping in the sense ambiguity. So there is an ambiguity happened in your controller. So the URL which you have specified twice. So whenever you are specifying your URL twice, that time you will get ambiguous mapping. So by looking mapping itself, you can say that so there is a duplicate URI in your controller. So this will be not only within the same controller. So with the same definition API, if you declare in another controller, not only employee controller, for example, if you have one person controller, if you declare same definition URI in person controller, whenever you are starting the server, it will throw same exception. What kind of exception it is? Cannot map employee controller method, because it is clearly saying ambiguity. Okay, just to show you purpose, I just reproduced the issue. Okay, so now I will do Control Z. That's it. Find employee, create employee. Now your application might have started successfully. Let me clear the console. Stop. So it is trying to uh, test your application actually. Whenever you are stopping the server, it's trying to cover all the packages. Test cases it is executing actual background. So that I will explain you later. So you can see there is no exception. So now can go to REST clients. From here we can let me check in database how many records we have. So I think we have 5 records, right? So let me update employee 4. So I want to update employee number 4. So what is the API? Update employee. Let me go there. Update employee. What is the request method I have given? Put method, I think. So I have given put mapping. So to update the resource. So now employee, you have to, if you want to update employee, you have to specify the ID, right? ID colon number 4. I want to update with Sachin, instead of Sachin, Virat Kohli. Let me send the request. So you can see, go to the database. So before refreshing the database, you can see employee number 4 is having Sachin Tendulkar, right? So let me refresh the table. So you can see employee number 4 saved with the first name Virat and Kohli. So I haven't changed the mail ID. That's the reason it is same Sachin Tendulkar. So you can see Virat Kohli is updated in your table. Employee 4 is updated. Now I want to delete employee number 3. So how we can delete? So just you need to call delete employee API. So this is a delete mapping. So now you have to select a request method delete. Sorry, a request method should be delete, and then here you have to call delete API slash 3. Okay, I want to delete employee number 3. So you can see whenever you refresh the data, so there is a employee number 3 is available in your database. So I want to delete employee number 3 from database. Send the request. So we got the successful response. 200 in the sales, employee deleted. So refresh the table. So number 3 is deleted successfully. So this is how we can write code. We can perform code operations, right? So here there is a error. Why delete employee? I haven't saved or what? Employee is delete employee. Why it is giving error? So code is not compiled properly. What you can do? Control A. Sorry, this bracket is missed out. So let me save. Now close. Now this is how you can write, we can perform all the code operations in JPA repository. What we have done, we have created JPA repository. There is employee repository I have created, right? This will extend JPA repository. So earlier we have performed all the code operation with the help of entity manager. So after that, we have performed all the code operation with JPA repository. The moment you extend the JPA repository, so it has all the methods: find by ID, save method, find all, and delete by ID. This is how we can perform code operations with JPA repository. Very easy, guys. So now you learn, right, all the basic concept related to JPA. So now I am going to explain you Associations. So associations, let me open Notepad plus plus and then I will let me explain you. So now let me type. So associations. Association are relationships or mappings. So we can call three times actually: associations or relationships or mappings. So many people will ask you in interview, what is the, can you explain me associations in Hibernate or JPA? Can you explain me relationships or can you explain me mappings in Hibernate? So you have to first, before that, you have to understand what is association and what is relationships, and also all are same terminology only. Some people may ask you associations, some people may call relationships, some people may call mappings. So JPA, Hibernate mappings. Hibernate mappings. You can Hibernate mappings. So three ways we can call one concept: associations, relationships, and Hibernate. So what does it mean? Relationship in the sense, so far we have worked with only one table, right? So far we have worked with only one table in real-time environment. Whenever you are working with real-time projects, you have a lot of tables and it has relationship between the tables. So whenever the table which is having relationship with one or more tables, we can call it as a associations or relationships or hibernate mappings. So the table, whenever there is a relationship between, like a simple example I will tell you, whenever there is a relationship between two tables is nothing but association or relationship. So how two tables can have relationship? With the help of primary key and foreign key, right? So how we can declare how we can declare relationship between two tables? With the help of primary key. Let me write primary key and foreign key. So to maintain the relationship between two tables, we have to maintain primary key and foreign key table. So when there is a relationship between two tables, so we must declare parent table will have primary key and child table will have foreign key to that table, right? So whenever a table which is having relationship, we can call it as a association or relationships or Hibernate mapping. So how we are going to perform with JP or Hibernate? So there is a annotations. If you want to, in the Hibernate, there is a four types of annotations are available in JPA. So you can call it relationships or Hibernate mappings or associations. Four types of associations are present in Hibernate. So what are those? So let me write it here. At the rate one-to-one mapping, one-to-one mapping or one-to-one relationship. So there is another annotation: one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-one, and many-to-many. So four kinds of relationship we have in Hibernate: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. So how we are going to write the program to perform one-to-one operations, one-to-one mapping? So how we are going to perform? With the help of at the rate one-to-one annotation, we can perform one-to-one relationship in Hibernate. So now you need to understand what is one-to-one. So one-to-one in the sense, let's say I will take one real-time example. So one employee, there take one employee tables. So one employee and one passport table. So let's say in database you have passport table and employee table in generic real-time example. So for example, employee will associated with uh, passport. employee is associated with passport. So one employee can have only one passport, right? So one employee cannot have multiple passports. In generic, passport or Aadhaar card, universal numbers. So for example, in India we have Aadhaar card is unique for all users in India, right? So similarly, passport also. So one user will have only one passport number, right? One passport number. So one employee can associate it with only one passport number. And similarly, you can take another example. One employee can has one Aadhaar number. Employee is associated with Aadhaar card. So in India, each and every user or employee, every all the people who are all there in India, they must have Aadhaar card, right? So unique Aadhaar card. So one-to-one mapping in the sense it should have only uh, employee should have only one passport. So employees should have only one Aadhaar number. Similarly, in vice versa. So one passport can have one employee and one Aadhaar card can associated with only one employee. So this is called one-to-one mapping. So this is one universal example. So one employee or user, you can mention sometime some people can why only employee. So it can be user also. User is associated with passport and user is associated with Aadhaar number or Aadhaar card. Anything. So we can call it as a one-to-one relationship. This kind of mapping we can call it as a one-to-one relationship. Make sure so both should have only unique. So in universal uniqueness in the sense it should always users always should have only one passport. Similarly, uh, passport can associated with one user. So nothing but one-to-one mapping. So you guys clearly understood, right? What is the meaning of one-to-one mapping? So one employee can have only one passport, and similarly, one passport can associated with one employee only. So let me tell you, the employees associated with passport is nothing but unidirectional mapping. So what we can call it as employees associated with passport is nothing but one unidirectional mapping. Unidirectional mapping in the sense one time mapping. So employee should have only one passport. Similarly, passport can have one employee. So this bidirectional I will explain you later. So as of now you concentrate on only unidirectional mapping. So you got it right. So in Hibernate, so we have four types of associations or four types of relationships or four types of Hibernate mappings. One of the annotation is called one-to-one mapping, one-to-one association or one-to-one relationship. So the example how we can make one-to-one relationship between two tables. So both the tables should have primary key and foreign key relationship between two tables is nothing but like that you can uh, maintain relationship between two tables. This is for to maintain relation between two tables. To maintain relationship between two tables, we need a primary key and foreign key. So based on the primary key and foreign key, we are going to maintain the relationship between two tables. And now how we are going to uh, perform one-to-one relationship mapping in Hibernate. So we have a annotation called @one-to-one annotation. With the help of one-to-one annotation, we can perform a one-to-one mapping in Hibernate or JPA. So what is the example? So one employee can associated with one passport is nothing but one-to-one mapping. Similarly, one employee can associated with one Aadhaar card nothing but one-to-one relationship. So let me write a program to perform one-to-one relationship. Okay, so now let me go to your code. So we have already employee table, right? So we have to maintain a relationship between two tables. So let's assume we already have employee table, right? So let's discuss now. So we have already employee table in database. If you open the database, you have already employee table. Let me delete all the records from the database. So I don't want now. So now here employee table, we have already employee table. So let's take the same example, passport. So we are going to write the program to perform one-to-one relationship. Okay, so with the one example, employee and passport. Okay, so the we are going to write one-to-one relationship mapping. We are going to write logic to implement one-to-one relationship mapping between employee and passport. So we have already employee table is ready. Now I want to create passport object. So let me go and create it. So from where you have to create model object. Where is the model package? We haven't created model package. Where I have created employee then? So okay, yes, directly I have created model object here. So, no, we should create entities in package. Actually, we have to create the package. So right click on the code, give it as a entity. Okay, I am giving package name is as a entity. So I just want to move this entity inside the entity package. So now this entity is available in employee class is entity is available entity package. So we already have employee package, right? So now let employee table we already have. Let me create passport class. Passport class. So let me create the passport class entity. So how we can declare a class as a entity? By specifying entity annotation. So generally passport, what are all the things we'll have? So in employee we have ID, email, first name, last name, and mobile number. So now passport, I am going to create passport will have, let's assume passport will have two columns as of now. So two columns. What are those? ID comma passport number. ID is the primary key for passport, and number is your passport number. So we have two columns in passport. So now let me create it. Private, how we can create private. So passport should be primary key should be unique, right? So let me give integer and ID. So passport ID. So now let me create another property string number, passport number. Okay, very easy, guys. So you have to understand the concept and then you can implement. So we have passport passport is having currently two columns, which is one is ID, passport ID, and number, passport number. So now let me create setters and getters. So going forward, so we no need to create the setters and getters also. This is also outdated actually. We you no need to create setters and getters in future. So we already have, there is a dependency, Lombok dependency. If you add in pom.xml, you no need to write the setters and getters methods actually. So that a concept I will explain you later. So as of now, let me create getters and setter methods. Okay, so now we have getters and setter methods. So now I have declared passport it as at the rate entity, and now we have to declare primary key, right? So how we can specify primary key? At the rate ID, organize the import java jakarta dot persistence dot id. So now I want to generate the passport ID dynamically. So primary key. So Hibernate, Hibernate create the primary key for passport table. Now, what is the annotation? At the rate generated value. So here I want to use a strategy called identity strategy. Yesterday I explained you, right? So I want to use identity strategy. So before that, so in our table, we have to check whenever you are declaring it as an identity. So our table should have a auto increment, right? So it's already auto increment. You can see there is a auto increment is available. So whenever you are going to insert primary key with auto increment, so this is passport table, right? So I haven't created the passport table. So let Hibernate create the passport table. So how Hibernate will generate the table? So now go to your application dot properties. I think I already mentioned, right? In application properties, the DDL statement you have to specify. It's already there. Update. So that means your passport table already created. So let me refresh the repository. If you see passport table is created successfully. If you observe here, passport table is created. So why how it is created? I already specified a DDL statement here. So Hibernate is generated my table, passport table. So because I have declared at the rate entity and I have specified the primary key. So the moment you declare a primary key, so Hibernate is generated the table for us, open table. So now let's check whether your passport table is having auto increment. So no, so we have to mention it as a auto increment. Why? Because so we are using a identity algorithm, right? So here we are using identity algorithm. Whenever if you want to generate a primary key with the help of identity algorithm, your table should have auto increment. So that's the reason I have declared it as a auto increment. So now what we will do, we have to maintain the what we are discussing one-to-one mapping. So I have created already we have employee entity and I have created passport entity. So now we have to maintain relationship between these two tables, right? So we have to maintain relationship between these two tables. So how we can declare one-to-one relationship? So with the help of at the rate one-to-one annotation. So just go to your entity, employee entity, and declare how you can maintain the relationship. So here inside the employee entity. So what is the concept here? One employee, you can see employee is associated with passport. So what does it mean? Employee class should have passport property. So employee is associate. What is the concept here? Employee is associated with passport. So employee will have passport property. So now what we have to do? We have to create a property in employee class, private and passport. So I have created property in employee class. You should not blindly write the code, guys. You have to understand the concept. So what is the concept? Now we are going to implement one-to-one association, right? One-to-one mapping we are going to perform. So what is the example we took? The relationship between employee and passport. One employee can have one passport. So employee is associated with passport. So here itself we have clear meanings. Employee is associated with passport. Nothing but your employee table should have passport property. So like that you have to understand the concept and then you have to write the code. So employee is associated with passport. So now I have created passport property in employee table. So now we have to create generate getter and setter methods, right? Select all. Now generate your setters and getters. Now, so let me stop the server. So you are getting exception, right? So why? Because we are going to maintain the relationship. So if you want to perform relationship between two tables, I have declared the property. What is the first step? So during the one-to-one mapping, we have to specify employee table should have passport property. So this is the very first step. So in employee table, I have given passport property. I have declared passport property. So now next, so we have to maintain the relationship. So if you want to maintain one-to-one relationship, what is the annotation we have to use? At the rate one-to-one association mapping. So now just you have to specify this annotation and organize the import. Control Shift O. So this is how we have to maintain one-to-one relationship between two tables, employee and passport. We are going to maintain the relationship between employee and passport. So in employee table, I have declared passport property, and we have to declare to maintain the one-to-one mapping. We have to declare with at the rate one-to-one. Okay. So now I am going step by step, guys. So now we'll see whether our application will work or not. So I think it's already 5, right? So let me show basic concept, then we'll continue tomorrow. So let me start server. See, if you see here, the moment I have declared with at the rate one-to-one mapping, so what Hibernate is did, you can see it is altering the table is altered by Hibernate. So it is generated passport underscore ID relationship between employee and passport. Hibernate is uh, auto generated the table, the relationship you can see. So now table is altered. Employee table is altered successfully. You can see foreign key relationship between employee and table is generated. So now if you open and refresh the object repository and open the table, let me open the table. If you see, employee table is having passport underscore ID. So why? So the moment I have added passport property in employee table, so in application that properties I already enabled, right? So DDL auto. So DDL auto in the sense it will create the table and it will also update the tables, because whenever we are maintaining the relationship between multiple tables, so Hibernate will taken care of primary key and foreign key relationship. So the moment I added passport property in employee table, so it's already our table is altered successfully. So in employee table, passport underscore ID primary key is added. So now you can see in passport table also, open passport table, let me check. So passport table will have, if you see here, passport table is having primary key, right? So ID primary key. If you check employee table, so ID is the primary key for employee. So there is a foreign key relationship. You can see here. Passport underscore ID is generated successfully. So there is a unique primary. You can see here indexes in the index section. You can see unique identity passport underscore ID is mapped with employee table. So there is a relationship between employee and table is built successfully. So a relationship is built successfully. Okay. So now we need to insert the data. So let me insert the data now. What will happen? So now we have to insert both the employee and passport details. What is the API to create the employee? Create employee is the API. And what is HTTP request method? It should be post method. So now we have only employee object, right? So we need to have, we need to insert passport details also. So now let me specify passport details. Passport. So with the by specifying double quotes passport. So how we have to declare? So in employee entity, you can see in employee entity I have declared property name as passport. So same name you have to give when you send the request. Okay, passport. And then passport will have a number, right? So I don't want to send a ID, passport ID. Why? Because yeah, this will be auto generated by the Hibernate, right? So we no need to pass ID as part of the request. Just you need to pass number, passport number. So just so random passport number I have given, some dummy passport number. So now we can send the request. Okay. So now let me, before that, let's check the data present in employee table. Let me check. So there is no data available in employee table. And similarly in passport. So passport also there is no there is no data available. So now I am trying to insert create employee. So now let me send the request. So you can check what is the response we got. Successfully 500 error. Why? Because it is thrown transient property value exception. Let me copy that. So you guys have to you guys has to learn step by step. So why intentionally I have written this? Why? Because so some people they will blindly directly write the code to maintain a one-to-one relationship. In employee, the entire logic they will just blindly remember how to write a one-to-one relationship, and they will write entire code and then start the application. That time you will not face these kind of issues. So if you go step by step, you can understand the concept and you can write the code and you can remember in lifetime. So now I am going step by step, right? So now when I'm what I have done, I just created we have the employee entity. We have to maintain the relationship between employee and passport. So first I have done, so to maintain the relationship, I need a passport property in employee. Okay, declared successfully. After that, we have to maintain the relationship rights one to one. So how we can maintain at the rate one to one annotation? Now I have successfully done one-to-one mapping. So now what we need to do, we need to insert the data. So now when I'm trying to insert the data, I am getting the exceptions. Now let's see why this exception came. So invalid data access, arg dot hibernate dot transients property value object references have unsaved transient instance. That means what is happening. So in save method, go to your repository class. So your employee service class. So when you are trying to create employee, you are trying to save the employee, but along with the request, we are passing passport also. We are passing passport details also. So whatever, so first passport details should insert, right? So whenever there is no passport available, to maintain the relationship between two tables, we need a primary key and foreign key, right? So if before inserting the employee, first we have to insert passport actually. So first we have to insert passport. So the moment you insert the passport, so you will have primary key. Let's say assume you have passport primary key 1. So then only you can insert the employee table, because there is a relationship between employee and passport. This is a foreign key relationship, right? You can see here. If you click here, passport underscore ID, if you click this button, there is a relationship between passport and employee. So before inserting in employee table, you should have passport ID. So without passport ID, you cannot insert the employee details. So Hibernate is trying to insert the employee, but it is not finding while inserting, it is not able to find passport ID. That's the reason it is throwing exception. So why? Because there is no passport details, and also whenever I'm sending the request, I did not mention the ID here, right? So if you want to insert the employee, you need a primary key of passport first. So what we can do now? So first we have to insert passport. So there is a annotation called cascade. Cascade is equal all operation. So we have to declare cascade is equal to all operation. What does that mean? So Hibernate will get to know whenever I am trying to insert the employee, first Hibernate will insert the passport first, and then it will insert the employee second. So when it is inserting passport, then it will get the primary key. Using that primary key, employee details can inserted successfully. To declare that, we have to use cascade is equal to all. What does it mean? So when whatever operation you are going to perform with employee table, for example, you are going to perform insert operation with employee table, so same insert operation will be performed in passport table. So that is the meaning of cascade is equal to all. So whenever you are trying to insert the employee, same insert operation will be applicable for passport as well. So what Hibernate will do, so there is a relationship between employee and passport. So before inserting the employee, first Hibernate will insert passport details first, then it will take that primary key of passport, and then after that it will insert the employee table. Let me show you how it is running in background. Okay, so let me insert now. See, now I send the request. Employee details are successfully inserted along with the passport information. Now, if you open the console, you can see a Hibernate is generated insert query, insert into employee sorry in first select a star from employee. First it is checking whether that employee is present or not. If it is then after that there is a left join is doing. So left join in the sense there is a mapping association between employee and passport. With the help of left join, first it is fetching the primary key of passport ID, and then it is inserting the respective passport ID in your employee table. Got it right? Hibernate will take care of it. We no need to write any logic for that. So the moment I try to insert the employee, Hibernate generated internally the relationship between employee and passport table. So first it is fetching, first it is associated with the passport. Select star from employee, select the column names from employee, left join. So it will check whether it will fetch the passport ID. It will create whether present or not. Before that, it will insert the passport first actually. So after that, so you can see it will perform insert operation. So once it is fetch, if it is not present, then it is inserting the passport information. So here, whenever I'm sending the request, before sending the request, there is no ID specified, right? So what will happen here? First, it will maintain the relationship between passport. Employee table will maintain the relationship between passport. After that, it will first it will insert the passport, then it will insert the employee. If you observe here, first it is inserted passport details, and then after that it is inserted employee details. So why? Because so first whenever passport is inserted, so Hibernate will got primary key of passport. That primary key of passport will be inserted in employee table as in passport ID column, right? So this is how one-to-one mapping will perform in Hibernate. Very, very easy, guys. So tomorrow I will explain in depth actually. So how one-to-one mapping can perform several ways. There is a unidirectional mapping and bidirectional mapping. So I will explain you tomorrow. You have to, I will give you a exercise to you. So I have created a relationship between employee and passport, right? So I want you to write the code to maintain relationship between employee and Aadhaar card. Okay, you can practice one-to-one relationship mapping between employee and Aadhaar card. So this exercise I am giving to you, you guys have to write the code to perform one-to-one mapping between employee and Aadhaar card. Okay, guys. So how we can perform one-to mapping with the help of at the rate one-to-one annotation. So remaining I will explain you one by one, step by step. Okay. Thank you, guys.